everyone. I decided, it's an interesting medium that we're working with now. And I think just by getting up, there's more energy. I hope you feel the energy. I hope it's coming through. I also wanted to highlight this Bansky photograph. In the upper right corner, it says, "There is always hope." And then you have the child here. So I thought it was appropriate for my presentation today. The first cover of the presentation, "The Resilience of the New York City Real Estate Market," I actually used that last year when the New York City real estate market was going sideways. I left that as the cover page for the presentation because the New York real estate market, the New Yorkers, humans in general are resilient. So I did think it was appropriate for the presentation today. The next slide. I want to focus that it's more physical distancing more than social distancing. And what I mean about that, and Jim talked about this, is even though we can't be together physically, we can still be connected virtually. So I do encourage people to reach out to their customers, to their clients, to their loved ones, reach out to them on a human level, make sure they're doing well, and also reach out to them on a business level. Because again, now that we have time, it is a good opportunity to connect with people via Zoom. And as an example of this, I was walking in my neighborhood, and some volunteers in Greenpoint decided to go around the neighborhood and post these advertisements for the elderly, for the people that may need some help during these tough times. So I do think that during these difficult moments, you will see the best of humanity. So I encourage that to stay connected socially. Next slide. Now, as I did indicate, I do have a brand new skill set. It's a homeschooler. My daughters, Ava and Mila, 5 and 8. I am being a homeschooler. I call it PS 109. Class starts at about 9:30. And that's also a picture of when we went ice skating here in Brooklyn next winter. You can go ice skating on top of a roof at the William Vale Hotel. Next slide. Now, I always use this as an opportunity to make fun of myself. That's a very beautiful picture when I didn't know how to use a comb. And that's also a picture of my dad's menu. My dad owned a diner in Chelsea. I use those pictures to remind you that, I am from New York, originally from Brooklyn. And, this too shall pass. The New York real estate market has overcome many things. In 1973, New York City was about to go bankrupt. We overcame that. That was actually the year I was born. 1987, stock market crashed by 15%. We overcame that. 2001, dot-com bust. We overcame that. 2008. We also overcame that. And we even overcame the 1929 depression. Again, this too shall pass. I'm saying that because we've done it in the past, and we will do it this time as well. Next slide. Think of me as your real estate problem solver. And we have some problems, opportunities that we're dealing with today. The first question, is anyone transacting? I like to say that people are transacting. In fact, on Friday, I received a letter of intent. Somebody's purchasing a $1.75 million brownstone in Brooklyn. And out of that deal, I actually made a referral to Francis. So people are transacting. Last weekend, one of my clients was in a bidding war for a $2.4 million mixed-use property in Williamsburg. If you are a buyer, it is a good buyer's market now. If you have the time and you're contemplating buying an apartment, you may want to reach out to a broker, reach out to the banker, reach out to an attorney, because people are transacting. Second question, is anyone lending? I have reached out to some of my residential lenders, like Jim noted, banks are lending. If you do know someone that needs financing, bridge lenders are lending. They are lending at lower debt to value. So where they would lend 70%, now they're lending 50%, but there's still liquidity in the market. So people are lending. Are people closing? Like I noted in my presentation, title companies are open. You can notarize via Zoom, but recording may be an issue. I do have two closings coming up: a $2 million all cash deal condo that we're trying to close, and a $365,000 co-op. We are having some issues with managing agents and movers, but again, people are still trying to close. Mortgage and rental income relief. As many of you may know, there's a 90-day moratorium on mortgages, foreclosures, and evictions. If you are renting and you may not be able to pay your rent in April, I would say reach out to your landlord. Many of my clients are working with their residential and commercial tenants. They may defer April's payments, but even with the banks, you may have to prove hardship, but there is an opportunity to delay either a rent payment or a mortgage payment. Refinancings, we're at all-time lows. If you do have a mortgage, take a look at the interest rate, and there may be an opportunity to refinance into a lower rate. And lastly, about credit lines, as Sylvia noted, if you do have a credit line, you may want to tap into it. You may want to tap into it now, because if the valuation of your property does drop, that credit line may be frozen. So I do have clients that are prematurely tapping into that credit line just to have some cash flow in case things stay slow for a little while. Next slide. In terms of who do you know, I think in this time, property owners. If you do know a property owner in terms of referrals, that would be good for me. If you do know a property owner that is either considering selling, or if you know a property owner that is having issues making their mortgage payments, or is having issues with their tenants, their commercial tenants or residential tenants, not paying their rent, that would be a good introduction for me. Again, sellers and buyers. I do deal with different asset classes. I'm dealing with an industrial sale of a $4 million warehouse in Greenpoint that's supposed to close this week. Real estate bankers are good referral sources. Investors, borrowers, and brokers. Again, it's a great time to make the introduction, because once this passes, and again, this too shall pass, there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand. There's going to be a lot of business to be had. So now is a good time for all of us to make those connections now that we have the time. Who do I know? Every month, I put together these real estate networking meetings. So if you know someone that can benefit by presenting at these meetings, that would be a great resource. I'm involved in the soccer community, so if you want to network with a bunch of soccer players, that would also, if you're interested in that. And I'm also the president of the PS31 PTA. So if you want to network with a bunch of parents in Greenpoint, also reach out to me. And the next slide, in the last 30 seconds, guess what? There's good news. What good news do we have? Number one, China is open for business. China started with Corona in January. It's March. All the Apple stores are open. All their Starbucks are open. Even in Wuhan province, the restrictions have been lifted. So again, there is hope. China is shows that it can be done. Number two, crime in New York down by 17%. So if you thought crime was going up in New York, it's actually going down by 17%. And lastly, Louis Vuitton and Brooklyn Beer Companies, They've repurposed their businesses so they're no longer producing fragrances or beer, they're making hand sanitizers. It shows that there are opportunities out there. And I'm not necessarily talking about business opportunities. There are opportunities to connect with people. There are opportunities to appreciate things that you may not have appreciated before. And there are opportunities to restill our business. So I look forward to shaking your hands and hugging you soon.